welcome to another episode of Stop Money Anxiety Now. This is the live podcast episode number 4, Reboot, Becoming a Prosperous Stay-at-Home Mommy, Take 2. All right, welcome back to another live broadcast of the Stop Money Anxiety Now podcast. I am your host, Wei Hong from the Six Figure Academy.
And I'm Jessica, also from the Six Figure Academy.
And this is the podcast where we give you real-world tips, strategies, and interviews with some amazing entrepreneurs, such as the one we're going to have on today, on how to eliminate the destructive money habits and anxiety so that you can create a prosperous and abundant lifestyle and business free of financial stress and worry. So, how are you, Jessica?
I'm great. I had a really nice weekend up north. So.
I'm great. Yeah, man.
No, it's just my words can't contain how...
Your words can't contain what?
No,
how lethargic you are right now?
Not lethargic, but it was just such an eventful weekend. Every time I go up north in San Francisco, I feel like I'm just in the state of just complete
What did you do
adoration.
there? I mean, what did you go to the Humboldt County or something like
No,
that? And just hang out
no.
Was that your event? Because you come back.
No.
I mean, you come
super
back.
relaxed.
It's like, hey, what's up?
No, it was really just, like feeling lost in a foreign city. I feel just super excited.
What did you go up there for again?
Just to see friends who I haven't seen in a really long time from college, and then also people who I met in Bangkok while I was living over there.
Bangkok.
Yeah. Thailand. And and then I saw one of my favorite DJs who I haven't seen yet, so that was my first time. So I just...
And the name of this DJ?
Rampu.
Rampu?
Yep, Rampu. He's from Berlin.
Okay, like P-O-O poo?
No, P-U-E.
Oh.
Yeah.
Rampu. I'm like poo.
No, but he was, it blew my mind. And then we just...
What kind of music did he play?
I personally
if you
categorize
can't explain it,
it...
just say you can't explain it.
It would be like ethnic, tribal, deep house.
Ethnic, tribal, deep house.
Mm-hmm.
A tribe house.
Tribe house.
Tribe house.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Tribe house.
So we just coined a phrase for that, for a Rampu.
Other people say ethno-techno.
Ethno-techno? That doesn't sound as
it's
good.
It's more deep house.
Tribe house, it sounds cooler.
Yeah, it's
like,
pretty cool.
You guys ready to listen to some Tribe House?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
seriously,
like
it was
that.
So much fun.
Oh, okay, cool.
And also we went to a board game cafe and spent a good amount of
you were talking
hours.
about that. A board game cafe.
Uh-huh.
Was anybody playing Monopoly?
Not that I saw. We were playing Settlers of Catan, so we were completely Settlers of Catan. You have never played?
Catan.
Really? C-A-T-A-N?
Well, I mean, I don't know. Let's ask it. So this is a great opportunity for me to remind everybody that if you are on our show on the Spreaker.com platform, or if you're listening to us on our website, it's because it's live. You can actually chat with us. So if you happen to be listening and you have access to the chat, feel free to ask questions anytime. And if you happen to be there right now and you're like Settlers of Catan, and she's, if you can see how Jessica's looking, like I am like, oh my God, I've been living in a cave.
Yes.
And to be honest, I wonder how many people out there actually know what Settlers of Catan is.
It's not a new game. It's been around for a while.
Now, if you said Dungeons and Dragons, I would have said, okay, cool, yeah, I know.
Yeah, no. I mean, that's
you
been
don't
made
know
fun
that?
of in the media, but I didn't
That's
know if it was an actual game.
It's an actual game.
Oh, sure.
D&D.
Sure.
Back in the day.
Yeah. No, but this game can get really intense. One
just
of my
like
friends,
Yu-Gi-Oh, Pokemon.
No. One of my friends in his college, when he was in fraternity, they had to ban this game from being played inside the house because it got that intense. People would hold grudges because it's all about strategy.
Oh, this reminds me of people who LARP.
LARP,
live action role playing. You have no idea what that is.
Nope.
People who live in this Renaissance world and they dress up and they actually operate. It's called LARPing. Come on, that's a millennial term.
Oh,
it's
I
not.
didn't know
It's
that.
not from Gen X. It's a millennial term.
Really?
Yeah.
I actually didn't know that. I know.
Where
a
have
few
you been?
friends
What
who...
cave have you been? No. Anyway, so
Tribe house. I've been to my tribe house.
the tribe house. Okay. So yeah, I wonder. I mean, there are people have board games and stuff like that, and if you consume a lot of time with the board games and stuff like that, I wonder, because there are people who play board games such as cash flow game by Robert Kiyosaki. They have Monopoly games. They have all these different games where, you know, there's actually a bridge gap, or not a bridge to the gap between playing games into real world, you know, kind of like application. So is there anything about the Settlers Catan that can actually, you think, would be able to translate into
money,
life? Not necessarily money, but lifestyle, life, whatever the case may be.
Yeah, I mean, negotiation, definitely. That's like my strongest suit in playing that game, is being able to negotiate to get whatever resources I need to gain the points I need to win. I make some pretty good bargains, I might say.
So negotiation bargain with the people within the game. Interesting.
Yep.
Okay, cool. Anything else?
Making allies, like, you know, not
from the
off.
game. I think I'm pretty done with the game.
From the
now.
Weekend.
just your past week in general.
Yeah, it was, you know, it's really interesting being inside San Francisco because it's changing so rapidly. But I love it. I love the interaction. I miss taking public transport. I got really excited to take the BART. Just the whole lifestyle behind not having to be in your car like here in Los Angeles. I think it's really nice. Well,
okay. Yeah. I mean, there's this whole thing about people who have gotten rid of their cars, you know, to save money.
Are you even thinking about it, right?
I was thinking about just to test it.
Like Truco? Was that app?
Turo. I think Turo plus Uber will allow you to... if you actually need a car, because sometimes when you Uber everywhere you go, it's kind of cool, but sometimes you need to have the convenience of actually having a car.
Yeah, like if you need to go to IKEA and buy... like a large...
Right. Or, no, not so much that. More like going to an event or picking up a client to have a private conversation in a car or something like that.
Yeah.
IKEA, you can order that online, so that's not an excuse to have to drive to IKEA and stuff like that. You just
Except to get the Swedish meatballs inside there.
Yeah, but then you can Uber to do that. You don't really need to rent a car.
Yeah.
But Turo, it's kind of like an Uber where you can actually, locally in your area, there are people who actually rent out their cars and stuff like that. So with a combination of two, you could literally have, I mean, the studies have shown that if you don't do a ton of driving, Uber basically you'll save like, you'd be spending a fraction of the cost. You don't have to pay for insurance. You don't have to pay for gas, and you just use the car when you use the car.
Upkeep, maintenance,
right? So public transportation. So that, you know, a lot of these businesses out there, you know, and this is what I love about entrepreneurship, are, you know, the ones that are developed and created by entrepreneurs solve a variety of different problems. Now, some people actually have businesses that solve problems that are yet to come. You know, like the Elon Musks and the Steve Jobs of the world are the ones that basically think so far ahead that they literally either create a problem for people to have, or they create a solution in anticipation for a problem, and early adopters then are kind of ahead of the game. And I think millennials are a lot into that, in terms of how do I get ahead of the game? How do I anticipate what's coming? Versus Gen Xers or people before my generation always, you know, my father would always say, I'll believe it when I see it, you know. But it actually lends to a lot of what we're going to be talking about today with our guests, because, you know, it's all about helping us create a lifestyle. I had a dream one time where I would create a platform, a virtual work platform, where what happens is the only time you work is when you get on your system, you put on a virtual reality thing. But then whenever you leave the house, if you leave the house to go somewhere, it's not to work, it's not to do anything, but it's literally to see the planet, to live life. So if you can imagine, if people only go out to live, people go out to enjoy nature, how much more people would appreciate preserving nature, preserving the planet, allowing the planet to heal itself, as opposed to us continuously kind of like sapping its resources. Anyway, that was kind of a dream from a long time ago. So,
it's possible. Nothing's impossible.
It's totally, yeah. I mean, with the Sims and everything, and the simulations and all the different things, there's definitely possibilities in that. And at the same time, you know, it's a tall order. With that being said, I think it's a great segue to get into our guest today, to welcome our guest back, because because today what we have back on our show is, and unfortunately we don't get to have her in-house. She's actually calling in from Israel, is Sarah Noked, who is an Entrepreneur's OBM, aka online business manager, to talk about how she became prosperous as a stay-at-home mommy, even though she's at home now, right? So, but what's interesting is that I've known Sarah for a little bit before we got a chance to engage with her in our business. And it was interesting following her journey of how she's grown in the very short time when I first came across her than to where she is now. So welcome on the show, Sarah. Are you there?
I'm here. Thanks, guys. Thanks so much for having me on again.
Thank you so much for being so flexible and being able to come back on the show, because
my pleasure.
Oh my God, I don't know if you actually heard the original version of what came out, but I'm sure Emily on your team probably told you it was so painful to listen to that when I went back to listen to it, like 2 minutes in, I felt terrible that there were people who stayed like almost the whole show listening to it or trying to listen to it. Oh my God.
Well, it was so good that the few tidbits they could extract made it worth it, right?
My ears were bleeding. I was like, holy cow, this is so bad.
I know, I didn't think it was when her listeners were chatting, and I was like, oh, it might be pretty bad, and we listened to it, and I was just like, oh no.
Yeah. So for those of you who who don't know who Sarah is, Sarah is a virtual project and operation management consultant with over 10 years of business experience. And, what's kind of interesting is there's something really cool about what Sarah brings to the table. I mean, when I was doing research around online business managers, I looked for a variety of different places. In fact, I came across your mentor as well, right, Sarah? I think it was Tina Forsyth, right?
Yeah, Tina Forsyth, right.
Yeah, and then, I said, cool, everything looks good, everything's tight, everything's clean, and everything like. And then, for me, I always like to look at the bio. I always like to look at, what's going on with them, who is this person, what this person's all about, and then that's where I see if I can find a connection. And then when I got to your bio and where you came from, which I'm going to go ahead and let you share about your origins and how you got to where you are today, which I think is an amazing story, because, what I want the listeners, people who are listening to, really kind of pay attention to is where are all the stopgaps where you had a reason not to keep going. You had a reason to not to succeed. You had a reason not to do what you're doing today or achieve the success that you've been able to achieve today. And then, and that's what really compelled me to reach out to you specifically and said, hey. And then, it took us about a year or so to kind of, I think mostly for me to get my act together, but I'm glad I did, because then when I came back, you have a team now, you have all kinds of things going on. So tell us a little bit. I was like,
wait, I've been waiting for you.
I know, I've been building up for you,
Where have you been?
Right?
I've been building this all for you. Yes, absolutely.
And that's how I feel. And that's why I brought you on.
I'm glad. That is my intention, to make every client feel like they are numero uno, right?
Right, exactly. So tell us a little bit about your journey. I mean, how did you get to be where you are today? I mean, I think, those who are stay-at-home mommies or stay-at-home daddies and really want to be able to figure out that formula on how to be prosperous.
The hustle.
Yeah,
the prosperous hustle.
The prosperous hustle. Tell us a little bit about, where how you came to be. I was born, and then.
Well, I mean, my journey takes me way back, almost about 12 years already. I grew up in Toronto. I'm Canadian. Yeah.
Canadian, eh?
And I on a whim fell in love and moved to Israel. And through that experience, I realized that I was now in a situation, and I'm very well educated. I did my bachelor's degree. I had started a landscaping company in Canada with my then Israeli boyfriend, who I was, madly in love with, and just wanted to get him to stay in Canada. And that was unsuccessful. So, I mean, what happened was I found myself living in an entirely different culture. I didn't have the language skills, and even though I had been highly educated and grew up from a culture that was like, you got to go to school and you got to become a doctor or a lawyer. I was suddenly living in this place where I was like, well, what am I going to do? And so I decided to go back and do my MBA. Of course, it was a program in English, and it was great. And I was like, great, I got an MBA. I'm going to go out and I'm going to get this great job in corporate, and I'm going to make lots of money and I'm going to live happily ever after. And, you know, when I got into corporate, I was like, this is not what I signed up for. You know, I wanted to have kids. I wanted to have flexibility. I still want to go home and visit my family in Toronto. This is just not going to work for me. And so really, I mean, it came out of a place that just I had no other option. I couldn't continue what I was doing because I was like, if I'm going to have, and you know, now I'm pregnant, right? I'm sitting behind my desk in corporate and I'm pregnant. I'm 3 months pregnant, thinking to myself, I better get my act together. I better figure out what I'm going to do because I cannot continue, you know, traveling. I mean, at that time I was doing like monthly trips to Europe, and I was, you know, going and seeing beautiful cities like Berlin, but, you know, spending my entire 3 or 4 days like in conference rooms and hotels. You know, it wasn't all, you know, games.
Right.
Although it does sound really nice, but it wasn't. Right. So then I decided, you know, purely out of not having any other options, was that I need to create something for myself. And the irony of it was that a lot of the things I was doing in my business development corporate position at the time, I mean, I was working virtually with my clients, and it was, you know, mostly clients in Germany, and I was doing everything over Skype, and I was using all of these tools, and I was like, well, I mean, why can't I just, you know, work with Americans and Canadians and Europeans? Like, why do I need to work in Hebrew? I can work in English. I can do, you know, all these things. Right. And so from that, I just created this opportunity for myself. And what I realized was, like, you know, I've got these skills. I can make business for myself. I already, you know, I sort of had that entrepreneurial spirit, or the, you know, I can take over the world spirit. Right. And I backed up against the wall because I was like, you know, you can't, in today's age, you can't survive off one income. You know, you just can't do it. So I, from that was like, that's it. I'm going to create this company. I'm going to offer, I mean, this is, mind you, this is after spending quite a few hours. Right. You know, don't tell my former boss, but spending many an hours, you know, trying to Google online, like, how can I work virtually? How can I work from home? I mean, I just wanted to work in my pajamas. Like, I was like, why is this asking for so much? Right. And
I want to work in my pajamas, dang it. Were you throwing a tantrum at work?
I know. I was like, I don't want to put on the pantyhose and high heels. I'm not into that. And I don't want to do the jet lifestyle with my family. And, you know, it wasn't fun for me anymore. I was like, this party is over. And so then I started up this so I was like, I'm going to start up this virtual assistant company. I'm going to have like 20 virtual assistants, and I'm going to manage like 300 clients. And I literally drafted up this business plan. I can't find it. I burnt it a few years ago, but it was hilarious. It was hilarious because I had all of these big dreams and aspirations, and in the end, you know, I'm really working on a boutique level, you know, with just a few really clients that I really love and care about, with a team of, you know, there's 5 of us on the team, and, you know, I've all trained these girls to be like me, to be online business managers, and to be, you know, very strategic, and, you know, that's been really fun too. And in the end, I have this thriving business where, you know, there are months where, you know, don't tell my husband, I hope he's not listening, but I'm making more money than him.
Yeah.
And it's great.
I mean, could you see? Great. I mean, I noticed that you mentioned before that it's you know, you just can't live in a single income household in the world we live in today. But at this point, because you've seen how your business has actually, you know, blossomed and grown, could you actually see your business becoming a potential single revenue stream for the household? I mean, not to say that you should be out, but at least it has the ability to do so.
Yeah, I mean, I could support us. I mean, I think my husband and I would kill each other. That's the whole other story.
So you have two.
The reality is,
so you guys who work separately out of necessity for sanity, right?
Yeah, we cannot be in the house at the same. We actually share an office together, but because I work in the evenings and I work in Eastern time, we don't actually cross paths. That's really for our relationship.
That's good.
Yeah.
Awesome. So what's kind of cool about your story is that one, I mean, you fully embrace the fact that you grew up with this massive entrepreneur spirit, right? And how it showed up was your initial game plan. It's like, look at this, I'm gonna take over the world, and with like, I'm gonna have like 300 clients, I'm gonna have 20, people working on my team.
Doing all these calculations, it was crazy.
Yeah, but you know what though? I mean, when I used to think that way and talk that way growing up, my father used to cut me down every day and says, that's impossible, that's not right, this and that. And I think, on some level he was trying to protect me, but I think every entrepreneur almost needs to at some point allow themselves to just go as far as they can, go as big as they can. Because I remember when I was like playing around in Hollywood, I was being coached and mentored by someone who does commercial acting, coaching, whatever the case may be. And he was telling me that, it's almost easier for you to go big in auditions. It's easier for you to tone it down than it is to bring it up. So I think one of the things that exercise you did for just going as big as possible really kind of set the tone for, having your mind think, okay, what is really truly possible? So it kind of gives this limitless expansion type of thinking, So even with your boutique now, doesn't mean that it has to be that way forever, right?
That's right. But I do like how it is now.
Yeah, right. But and you grow into it, because when you start, you have you don't know for sure yet, right? Because you're still stepping into it. But if you think small and play small in the beginning, you probably are not. And I think a lot of people do this. They force themselves to play so small in the beginning that they never get a chance to really expand to a point to figure out what really they do like. Right?
Yeah, because I do this every day. I do the one thing that scares me every day.
Oh.
Whether it be whether it be contacting somebody that I am afraid to reach out to, or something just out of my comfort zone.
Oh, I love that. So
it's something I've always done since I was a teenager.
Nice. So you pick one thing every single day. Like one thing
every single day. I do one thing that freaks me out, like this podcast, for example. It's freak you out for the day.
So this
is like, I was like, that's going to give me a mild heart attack before I do that. That freaked me out today.
We're asking you to step out from the shadows of the internet. So
I know, right? I'm still in my pajamas, by the way, so it's okay.
That's awesome. Not only that, you're sitting in a closet now.
I am. In the closet in my pajamas, but there's no echo, right?
Right, there's no echo. It's perfect, actually. Acoustically, it's perfect. It's funny because I just recently got a sound booth, which you got a chance to see, right? And
yes, I did.
Yeah, prior to that, before I really kind of committed to the path of creating audio programs for our peoples, is that I was actually doing it in the closet as well, and.
And it sounded great.
I would literally be sitting surrounded by suits and shirts and pants and, all kinds of random things. And
it's funny that you mentioned that, because when I started off, I was literally I might have had my discovery call with you on my balcony at nighttime in the winter in Israel, which isn't that cold, but still, you got to do what you got to do.
Right. Just to be as professional as possible. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, in listening to your journey, you probably had a few points. Can you remember like critical points where, had you not made a decision to go one way, it may have maybe even totally kept you from having a viable business? I mean, there's so many reasons for you to have just quit on your path. I mean, can you just quickly identify some of those areas, just so that, because I know that a lot of people, when especially stay-at-home moms or dads, they're thinking, okay, how do I structure something? And they try these different things, and they have the freedom to do so, or have the compulsion to do so. But then there are moments where there's a critical, pivotal points where you either make a decision to move forward or not. But
it's funny that you say that, because for me, it really there was a point where. I knew I was leaving corporate. I knew that I would take like some time off from my maternity leave, and then I would go like full on into entrepreneurial mode and building my business and getting clients. And I had spent a lot of time working for free, which is always advised against, but I really wanted to take time and work with high-end clients so that they would teach me the back ends of like their membership sites and their WordPress sites. I I knew that what they were giving me was sort of priceless. But I also remember, and obviously, like for me, I knew that I wasn't unrealistic. I knew that it would take me probably 6 months to get some paying clients, and then probably another 6 months before I could like fully support myself. Right. And I had discussed it with my husband, and obviously he's always been really supportive of me, and he calls it part of his import tax. All of these things that he has to pay for. So I was like, this is what I'm going to do. This is what's going to make me happy. I want to be able to, visit my family, and if I'm happy wife, happy life. So of course he was down with that. But on a serious note, I also, lucky for me, I had like my 3 months of paid maternity leave. So I was like, that's what I was banking on. I was like, I've got 3 months of paid maternity leave. And then, I gave myself this like 3 months of like, where I'm okay, maybe I'm not going to be making any money, but I'm also taking care of my daughter. I'm not going to put her in daycare. She's going to stay at home with me. And that was that. But it was literally the day that I kid you not, it was like to the day. It's like exactly 6 months later where I had like January 4th, and I had my first paying client. It was also the same day that I actually finally, and I mean, you probably have a million things to tell me about this, but I finally was like told my work that I was go on maternity leave. You don't, like, I wasn't sure if I was going to come back, so I wasn't going to tell them, oh guys, FO, I'm like, I'm never coming back here again. I was like, yeah, I might come back, might not come back. So at that point, it was the 6 month mark. I needed to tell my work that I wasn't coming back in order to, to be okay and make it right. Yeah. And it was like literally the next day, my first client contacted me, and it was like, where have you been all my life? Let's get started. And then I was like, and I just needed that. It was like sort of a sign for me, like, I can do this. Right. It was 2 clients, and it was 3 clients, and it was 4. And I was like, now I'm making more money than I made when I was in corporate, right. And then it was the same thing when I brought on my first team member. I was like, should I do it? Shouldn't I do it? If I looked back at my business plan, I would have had like 300 team members by then. But, I was like, this one team member, I was like, oh my God, can I afford this? What if something happens? And, right. I followed my heart with that first employee. She's still with me today. Like, nice. 4 years later, yeah, and like we're really, she's like family. Yeah. So, and it goes on, and I just feel like a woman and having this instinct or the intuition, and I'm sure men have too, but I mean I'm relating to women and mummies here. Yeah. So for me, it's like I really just followed what I followed that little voice inside me, and I was like, it never told me you can't do this. I'm not that kind of person. I was like, I'm very optimistic, and I'm going to make this work, whatever it takes, because for me there was no alternative. Right. I really couldn't go back to my corporate job because it was too far of a commute. Right. I know not a lot of options because we're going to pay me a high salary because I speak Hebrew. Like right. I didn't want to be in that situation where I needed to correspond and stuff in Hebrew. Like, I mean, I speak it fluently now, but then it was really a different story. Right. So for me, it was also like being backed into a wall, and I think that it forced me to be creative and also to get out of my comfort zone and do the things that were really freaking me out, which was like contacting people and being like, this is what I can do for your business. Right. Do you want to give me a chance? And a lot of people were like, what do you do? What is that? I don't get that. No, that's not going to work for my business. And other people were like, oh, God, like, where have you been? Like, and it really, I realized, like, okay, I'm not going to be for everybody, and that's fine. And I'm going to attract the people that I want to attract and the team members that I want to attract. Right. In the driving business even this week, I mean, even since our last conversation, I've had 2 breakthrough strategy calls with 2 OBMs, and I feel like so, like I want to stand at the top of the mountain and be like, you guys can do this, like, right. Do it, you do it. Right. It's interesting. So based on what you're saying, and let me see if I got this right. Is when you decided to make a decision, when you made the decision that yes, this is what I'm going to do, that's when things happened.
Is that what happened? Like
that is exactly when I finally made the decision to tell my old job that I wasn't coming back.
Right.
Suddenly, all this opportunities presented to me. It was crazy.
Right.
It was like it was unbelievable.
Yeah. And there's something very powerful in that happens, and it's a universal kind of like a universal law of prosperity, where prosperity won't come in until you make a decision for it to come in. And sometimes,
and even though I thought that I made the decision, I really hadn't. I wasn't 100% into it.
Exactly. It's that commitment. What separates people who are really successful. I remember in high school, one of the guys on the football team was telling me about how to avoid getting hurt playing football. He says you are more likely to get hurt playing at 80% than if you're playing at 100 or 110%. He says, and he was just in it from a standpoint of saying, make sure you do this way or else you're going to get hurt. He says, don't hold back, go all out and go 100%, and you're less likely to get hurt, or you're more likely to succeed. It's interesting because he was like a fellow student of mine. But to this day, I still remember what he said. I still remember his name, Homan Igehi. So you haven't heard this years later, prosperity-wise. Homan, your name is on this podcast. You are now emblazoned in the world of internet. But but he told me, that's how you avoid getting hurt. You go 100%. Otherwise, when you hold back, that's when you don't know what you're doing to hold back. But when it comes to entrepreneurship, which you've demonstrated beautifully just now, and you talked about in your story, is that if you say I'm going to do this, but then you're holding back, then prosperity doesn't know whether or not to come in just yet, because what if you go back? It comes in and here's an opportunity, but then you're going to screw the pooch on that one, right?
Right.
I don't know if that even is a relevant
word.
Saying for this, but I get it.
Yeah, well, it was pretty cool.
So just as a reminder for our listeners out there that are listening live, you can definitely chime in at any time on our live chat to ask Sarah any questions, especially if you're a stay-at-home mommy thinking about, because some of the questions I'm going to ask next may help you in terms of thinking about what you can do next. If you're a stay-at-home mom, if you're already working, or if you're not working, or thinking about working from a home situation, we live in a time where there are zero limitation. We live in a world market, right, Sarah? I mean,
right.
You can work anywhere. You can work however. You can work,
in your pajamas.
You can work in your pajamas.
Yes, in your pajamas, in a closet, wherever.
I have to be
wherever
honest.
There's an internet connection.
Right. You can work in a cave. Come out have a messenger come out, pick up your stuff, and deliver it to the world, and stay in your cave. No, I have to tell you though. I mean, years ago when I was working from home, and I didn't have an office, there were days where I still remember there was one time I had just come out of the shower and I had to put out a fire, and literally at one point I came out, I was running across the room, my towel fell off, I didn't stop. I was sitting at my desk, stark naked, doing a business call, taking care of business. And when I was done, I looked around and I just had to laugh and said, "This is an amazing life."
Yes. Oh my God. Oh, how times change.
If they only knew. Consequently, I put the fire out, and it was a great, and we handled it and everything like that. And unfortunately, none of my team members worked with me at home. So,
yeah.
So I just one up the PJ thing. I actually at one point.
Yeah, really. Yeah, you took it a whole different level.
Took it a whole different level. It's like, wait, why do you have plastic on a chair? Don't worry about it. Just don't worry about it. So okay. So I think, Sarah, the big thing is, I think some of the listeners out there, especially the moms or even the millennials and stuff like that, oftentimes when we hear a story and we like the end result, and maybe not everybody was born with a silver entrepreneur spirit in their mind.
Right.
Silver spirit entrepreneurs. I don't know where I came up with that, or maybe they didn't have the same circumstance where they have a supportive partner, right? And I'm sure being, doing what it is that you do, and we'll give you an opportunity to really kind of go into detail, because I think a lot of people still don't know what an online business manager does. So give you a moment to talk about that. But right now, I'm wondering, what is it that you can share with those people who are challenged with not having the right network around them, not having the right support system or the best support system? Maybe not having any idea of what entrepreneurship is like, and is just now embracing the possibility of being an entrepreneur.
Right. Wow. I mean, it's really powerful. I mean, first off, in terms of support, I think that there are tons of mommy entrepreneur type communities online, like on Facebook. I know I'm a part of a few of them. And if there's anybody out there that is feeling like that and isn't feeling like they're getting the attention for their friends and family. And the reality is that, my husband and my friends, my mother even, they can't even say what I do. So nobody really knows what I do anyways. They'll just like, oh, yeah, I'm working in marketing or something like that. It's like their catch-all for everything. That's not at all what I do. A little bit, but not at all. Right. So, I mean, first off, you have to come out and actually educate your friends and family on, either this new kind of turn you're taking in life or an opportunity that you want to do. And I think that most people, most families and spouses and everything will, give the support if you ask them for it. And if they don't, then, there's lots of people like myself who are part of communities and masterminds and coaching. Coaching is a big one too. That can definitely guide you and be that support system that you need. So like in that sense, I mean, it can be very difficult, especially if you're already a mommy and you have like the kids and the responsibility. It becomes very difficult, and you really have to just do things to block off your time and be able to have time to work. And if that means, for me, it was working. It's 10:30 where I am right now. Right. This is when I work. I work at nighttime. You have to make sacrifices, and some people aren't willing to kind of go that extra mile. And I think if you really want it, then you make it work, basically.
Find a way to make it work. Yeah.
You find a way to make it work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I wonder, because you have a couple millennials on your teams, right?
I do. Yeah, I do.
Yeah. How are they? I mean, because I'm looking at Jessica right now, and because she doesn't have a kid yet, and so maybe the motivation is slightly different. What have you found with the millennials on your team? How they stay on point, how they stay focused and motivated to keep, moving forward? Yeah.
I think my team, first of all, I do personality tests on my team members. So, cool. And Julie in particular, who's my millennial, and she's was my first employee and has been on the team the longest and is like family to me. I just think that it doesn't matter what generation you come from. I mean, and I know that the work ethic is different, but it's different, but it's the same. She likes it because she's a student part-time. It's really great to work from home. She's all of my whole team are expats, so she goes home often to visit the family as well, and it's nice that you can work from wherever. So I think that I try to position in a way that is really valuable and beneficial for them because of the work from home and because of the lifestyle aspect. Right. And let's be honest, I'm just a fabulous boss. So everybody needs to be working with me.
Right, exactly. I mean, it's like my boss works in a closet in her PJs. Come on.
I know, yeah. And I try to make it fun. I try to, even though we're virtual, we get on a few times a week for, I call them our scrum sessions. We'll powwow and talk clients for a little bit, and then we'll shoot the shit and we'll talk about stuff on Netflix or things we're eating, things we're doing outside of work we actually have on our Slack, I know you're a big fan of Slack too, and we have a Slack for your team We also have Slack, my team, and we have one channel is the virtual wine cooler channel, and that's where all the fun stuff happens. That's where we're sharing the funny GIF images and that kind of stuff. So I think it's all about creating a company culture that is really accepting of all kinds of people and, different stuff. So it's just fun. It's fun most of the time. I really enjoy my team, and I would be lonely and isolated without them. And that's the other thing, right?
Right.
So
I think one of the challenges is that a lot of stay-at-home moms or dads, they don't realize there's a way to build connectiveness or a community or belonging. And I tell people all the time that just because they're family doesn't mean they're always the best support system for you.
Right.
There is blood family, and then there's family that is the nurturing, supportive family that actually is there to help support you on the rest of life, right? And
totally. And for me, and just to go back to what the other question was, for me, it was really about finding a coach, a coach, a virtual assistant coach, because at the time I called myself a virtual assistant.
Right.
It was finding a coach who could really guide me and help me kind of move through the process as fast as I could so that I could be more successful. So for me, one of the things I did also, finding a community was, and she helped me find the community too. So she opened my eyes up to this, the B School community, which was, one of the first places that I kind of joined this community of entrepreneurs, Marie Forleo, primarily women. That was my first, oh my God, there's people like me moment. And this rocks, I was like, this is the best shit ever.
Yeah.
And I owe it to that coach, because she was like, these are the things that you need to do. And she coached me through, the negative talk and, can I do it? Can't I do it? Am I ready? Is now the time? You just have to do it. That's it. So for me, hiring a coach was priceless.
Yeah.
Priceless. And,
I agree.
And I'm sure, catapulted my growth and success as a VA at that time, tenfold. I'm sure things that would have taken me 3 years were taking me 3 months to do.
Yeah. No,
and I was really focused. Yeah. I was focused on the skills that I needed to do too. What did I need to learn? Who were my clients? What was my avatar? All of that stuff.
Yeah. No, I tell people all the time, I love that you said that, the whole coaching and mentor thing, because I think the biggest pivotal shift in my life when it came to, entrepreneurship and, doing things the right way was when I finally got out of my own ego way and just said, oh, maybe I should get someone who actually knows how to do this and to help me out and do this. And people say all the time, and the older generation says, why would you need a coach to help you do that? Just go do it yourself. Says, yeah, I could, but I'm kind of an impatient entrepreneur. And I think the reason why I wasn't getting results at the speed that I wanted was because I didn't have a coach, and when I first started out, a lot of people say, well, I can't afford a coach. I says, I couldn't either. When I first started out, I got the cheapest coach I can get with the money that I could buy. And, there's every coach has a nugget that they can provide. And when that coach, when I outgrew that coach, it was funny because one of my earliest coaches years ago has come back to me and became a client. So which is fascinating. And fortunately for him, he was just like, I don't care. I don't have self-judgment that way. If you're doing better than me, I would love for you to show me how, because, I gave you a leg up, give me a leg up.
Absolutely.
It's fascinating, but really cool that way. And it's kind of like the world we live in, right? If we can get out of that arrogance or that judgmental, self, serving type of mentality, and say, hey, we're in the same community, we're all in the same, like that old song. I don't know, remember this, We're All in the Same Gang by West Coast Rap Stars. It was back in the day. But we'll kind of have that thing that we're all in the same gang, we're all here for a unified purpose, especially as entrepreneurs, that who cares if, from one moment to the next we're a teacher or a student, because that's really kind of the dance we play with everybody that we meet, right? One moment, we're doing this dance of now you're a student and now I'm a teacher, but then in the next moment I could be the student and you could be the teacher.
Or in the same moment, you're the student and the teacher at the same time.
Right? You're teaching and learning from yourself. Says, oh, did I just say that? That was good. Let me learn that too.
Yeah.
Every day. I feel like that stuff comes up every day.
Every day, right? But, and the thing is, it shows up for everybody every day. I think one of the first steps of awareness or learning how to go fast and growing your business, especially when you're working from home, is having that willingness to be aware that every day there's an opportunity. So I love that you do something that scares the bejesus out of you every single day.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So aside from today, was this show the only one for you today, or is there something else that's coming off?
Well, I mean, I did have, it tends to be like client meetings that really freak me out or yeah. I mean, it's not like I'm, doing like bungee jumping or jumping at a plane because I've done those things before. Those have gone on the list, but it's more about kind of pushing my limit.
Right.
Or like, for example, this last month, actually, I mean, it kind of all spawned, from my trip to California and seeing you guys. And I don't know, I came back from that trip and I felt really energized. And I was like, I've started pushing out this new OBM community. So it's like online business managers. It's called the Confident OBM. And it's all about primarily women and men, but those people who are trying to, systematize their online businesses. And I try to appeal to the online business manager because that's how I've really systematized my business and how I've really been able to grow as fast as I have. It's just all through systems, which I can, tell you a little bit about. But for me, it's been really kind of showing up in that community because despite me being like, as I am now on this podcast, I'm actually really quite introverted. And I think we kind of touched on this last time we talked. So for me, it's like a lot of the times when I'm freaking myself out, it's because I'm like putting myself out there or, saying something on social media that like I really feel where usually I'm very reserved and like, I don't want, people to get offended or I don't want, now I'm like, I'm going to tell my story and I'm going to own it and I'm going to, because I'm rocking it, I'm going to show people that I'm rocking it. I'm not going to feel shameful about that because it's ridiculous.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's almost a disservice if you don't.
Right. I'm like, I can really help people. And because of that, just like we were talking about with the prosperity, because of that, in the last with like my ideal clients in the OBM world, these are women who are me like 3 or 4 years ago, who are like at that breaking point where I'm not sure I can do it or I can't really wrap my mind around how this works and how do you do it, and just being completely like giving and generous with everything that I have. And all the systems, literally being like, this is what the back end of my system looks like. This is how I onboard clients. This is how I onboard employees. Like
and you said
everything,
this was happening in the last how long?
In the last week. I've had these two. People have just been coming out of the woodwork. It's like crazy. Because you decided to just kind of serve at a higher level. Yeah, because I was like, I think I'm ready for this now. And I'm telling you, it happened. The moment happened for me in your office where I don't know, for some reason it was like worlds collided, and I was like, oh my God, it's like it's real. Like everything is real. It's kind of bizarre, but I so rarely get to see my clients in the flesh, so it always magical things happen. Yes. With clothes on.
It's funny that you say that because that tends to happen a lot in my office. This office is energetically treated. It's got all kinds of cool stuff. It's all about prosperity. Not to say I'm not taking full credit of it, but it just tends to happen. And just thinking everything that you've been doing. I felt different. So cool. So that means everybody on your team should visit my office.
I think so.
One day.
Let's get on that 15-hour flight again.
Right?
Yeah. I don't know if I'll be doing that anytime soon.
So, okay, cool. So, I want you to talk about, because I think a lot, like you were saying, a lot of people don't really know, okay, this is cool. As I say, okay, great. If there's somebody out there like you, what if they want to, do what it is that you do, or, just kind of give us a 30-second of what does an online business manager do? What is it that you do specifically?
Yeah, so basically an online business manager. I work primarily with online entrepreneurs. I work with coaches and, creative entrepreneurs who are selling products and services in the online realm. So for me, a lot of the times it's managing teams virtually. So that entails, having the right project management tools, following up with different team members, making sure that tasks get added when they should. And then it's also the project management pieces, making sure that projects are getting done on time and vetting out the right contractors online for certain things. And then the core of what I do is I help entrepreneurs systematize their businesses. So, I don't want people to be reliant on me that I'm, if I'm gone or I get sick or something happens to me, they're like, oh my God, all the information is with Sarah. We're screwed. So I set up systems because I don't want my clients to feel like they have all their eggs in my basket. You're offboarding, your employee training, certain products that you launch, setting up all of the systems that basically, like, my whole philosophy is that a business should be reliant on systems and not its people. So, people come and go, and, in the virtual world, a lot of the times, like a VA, it happens, I'm sure it happens offline, online, people can be flaky, or people aren't always the person that you thought they were. And
or life happens.
Life happens. Yeah, totally. And, there's nothing wrong with that. So,
I think
online businesses.
Yeah, no, I think you bring up a great point, and I think the last about 30 seconds you were cutting in and out, so hopefully people got the essence of what you were talking about.
Yes.
But I think what you said, the cool point was that you're positioning these entrepreneurs to become reliant on systems that are independent of external factors such as life and nature and those types of things. I mean, to a certain degree, it still does, because if the world explodes, then no system will keep your business in place if there's no earth to be on. But the likelihood of that happening is far smaller than people happening, right? And I hear it all the times that, oh my God, we have this amazing person that does everything. And then all of a sudden they're not there anymore because everything was in his or her head.
Right.
We don't know what to do now.
Yeah, we're screwed. Yeah, totally.
Yeah. And so I love that. So that in essence is what you help these entrepreneurs do. With,
and then of course, it's the digital marketing side of me. I mean, I love the tech. I geek out on tech. So but that's, also so that's why I was in California at the, Digital Marketer Conference, which I wish you would have come with me to, but
I know.
Things happen.
Probably next year. Next year will probably
I hope so.
Yeah.
It was fun.
Because I heard a lot of things. I talked to a lot of people that were also
Go
there
run
too.
dice. Yeah, it was fun. It was good times.
Yeah.
Good times, and it was like meeting people. It was powerful because, a lot of these people, I know from social media.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're just like online characters, and suddenly I'm like, oh my God, you're real, and you're also really cool and down to earth.
Yeah, it's awesome. Industry celebrities, right? Industry celebrities.
Right.
Yeah. So I think it's such an amazing thing to be able to hear directly from someone who's made it work, because you hear about stay-at-home moms and dads all the time, and and then they're talking about how cool it is, how fun it is, and then we look at are they making the money, or are they just, it's just a lifestyle piece? And, remember, prosperity is a money plus lifestyle in order to truly be prosperous, right? You need to have the money piece and the lifestyle piece. And I think you also have something that you want to share to help people, who are interested in either learning more about you or just wanting to know some of the core of what you do, like a systems thing. What is it that you have to offer?
Right. So, if you are looking to kind of systematize your business, even if it's online or offline, maybe you're an online business owner, or maybe you're a virtual assistant or an OBM, or you're aspiring to grow out a team. I have on my website, if you go to sarahnoked.com, SARAHNOKED.com. You can download from my homepage my Confident OBM Toolkit, and that contains like my, tried and true SOP template that way you've come to know and love.
Yes, absolutely.
So basically, I'm giving away that template and actually an SOP. Creating SOPs, because that's also needs an SOP.
Right.
An SOP is standard operating procedure. So it's a way of it's like an exercise for creating systems. So what I get all my clients to do when we first start off is like think about the recurring tasks that you're doing daily, monthly, weekly, whatever. Write them all down. Think about the things that you can only do, and think about the things that you can delegate. And part of creating systems is creating ownership for somebody else in your business to take over a task that you've been doing for, God knows how long. So, it's very freeing. It's very freeing experience. So, definitely head over there and download that.
Awesome. So what would you suggest then for someone who is in the early stages of being a thriving, prosperous, stay-at-home mommy or daddy like you are right now? What would you suggest would be a first step in creating an SOP for to really kind of help them, give them a leg up on, cool, now let me do this first, or this set of steps to really kind of put me on the right path?
I mean, I think it's unique it's different for everybody. For me, one of the first things I truly delegated was my content creation. I have my undergrad degree is in humanities. I mean, I spent 4 years of my life writing essays, and I got to a point where I was like, I don't really enjoy doing this. So I think and I was like, so we have part of the system is the brainstorming process, and me, telling Emily, who's the content writer on my team, but it's different for everybody. For me, that was and the administrative stuff. So it's like there was, as I was growing, the other thing I knew was like, well, I don't want to get to a point where, like, if I'm not feeling well, or I need to go on vacation, or I need to take care of my kids, I need people on my team who can back me up. So, I mean, anything that you're doing for a client, or needs to have a system with it. So it's almost like everything you do. Like, if you're doing it more than once, it needs to be put down on paper, and this is in the sense of automation. It's like, can a tool do this better than a human being?
Right. Or can you set the tool up to do it exactly the way you're doing it, right?
Right. Right.
I tell people all the time, this goes right in line with the 90-10 rule I talk about. Like 10% of what we do every single day is really the only part of our day that's uniquely to us, that is part of our own unique brilliance. 90% of everything that we do can actually be outsourced or leveraged with technology to have it done with or without our presence. And I think, combined with that gift that you're giving people with your toolkit, the OBM toolkit, that really should be a starting point. I know for me, one of the first things I wanted to leverage was emails and appointment setting, because I know the magic of where I show up in my business when I go out in public. Ironically, I'm an introvert too, but when I go out in public and go to mixers or network or even speaking gigs, that's when things magically happen for our business. And so the more I'm able to do that, the less I have to spend on things that I could have people who are even better than me do, right?
That's right.
But yeah,
and it gives you the time and space to focus on your creative genius. I know,
which is what you guys have been able to do. You guys, your team. People on my team, Jess, Danielle, Mia, all these amazing, and happen to be women. I don't think I have one guy on my team. Chris. Oh, yeah,
Chris.
I do have Chris. I do have Chris. Yeah. Okay, great. Awesome. Yeah, I do have a guy. Yes, I am not alone.
Isn't the worst thing in the world.
I know. It's not the worst thing in the world. I have at least one dude. But anyway, but but I think it's been extremely helpful. I mean, especially you guys coming in so that I can just sit in my creative juices longer. I can marinate longer in my juices and enjoy that process.
Have peace of mind, have peace of mind to know that things are getting done.
Yeah, and then when I was out for some more training that I do every single year, and there was a couple fires that needed to happen, I barely needed to lift a finger because the team just stepped up, which I am so grateful and appreciative of, all of you. So it's really cool. And I think the first step was finding someone, getting used to that muscle of delegating, and letting somebody else who can potentially do it better, and actually enjoy doing it to do it for you. Right. So awesome. Well, Sarah, can you believe it? An hour went by already.
I know, right?
And it's so fast. But thank you so much for coming back on the show. And I think this time sounds so much better. And and we can actually share it better. A couple times you knocked it out, but I think the gist of it was actually communicated through anyway. So if you do want to connect with Sarah further for your business, or just to learn more about how, or pick her brain about how to become a successful, thriving, prosperous stay-at-home mommy or daddy, definitely reach out to her on her website, Sarah Noked, SarahNoked.com, and then get her toolkit. I started with that before I even started working with her. I used that, and I used it over and over again. So by the time I actually got a chance to work with Sarah,
so that's why you're my favorite client, because it's amazing. Thank you for that.
Right? So definitely connect with Sarah. She's very, as you can tell, she's very easy to talk to, very easy to approach. And, I'm pretty sure as she up levels again, that we'll probably have you back on the show if you're down for it.
Oh, I hope so. I'd love to come back again.
Yeah, it's so fun.
Anytime.
Yeah. Okay, awesome. All right, and hopefully next time we can get you maybe to come out of the closet.
I know, right? Come out of my pajamas. I'll be naked, though.
Yeah. Okay, awesome. Well, thank you so much, Sarah.
Thanks, Sarah.
Okay, so,
thank you so much.
Yeah, absolutely. So thank you, everybody. So join us next week when Jess and I come back, and we're going to let you know a little bit later. Make sure you subscribe to us on our Spreaker channel. You could also find us on iTunes. You could find a recording of this one also on all of those platforms, or you could just go to our website, thesixfigureacademy.com. That's the number 6figureacademy.com/radio. And that way you can enjoy more of this awesome intro and outro music and then hear our good stuff. All right. Have a great week, everybody. Bye.